Hi, I guess you already know that I do speed paint and animations, but if you don't, hi, hello, and welcome. I have asked people if they would like any art tips, and many people have said yes. So here's that. When it comes to drawing, like, please start out with a reference. As you can see, like, what I'm currently doing, I am not starting out with reference because I do not have one. Um, and for those who don't know, I accidentally broke a bit of my tablet, so now I'm waiting until I can fix it. But yeah, as you can see, I am doing a bit of sketching and like a rough sketch. So for those who are like starting out new with drawing, here's a bit of tips. You don't really need like really expensive drawing softwares. You really don't, because the one that I have, it was up to $50, but it can go more depending on if you wanted the X version, and which I did not want. I wanted the Pro version, and I'm keeping the Pro version. Here are some like good tips for like when it comes to art. Number one, you should always try to avoid using like the color white, not like, and like I mean like pure white as any form of like skin tone, or the color black, unless it has to do with line art. And this is because you don't really want to use white all too much in your drawings unless for certain things. Not only that, but if you use a little bit way too much dark black or like any form of like gray tone, you might not actually be able to see it, and many people will get confused on where goes where. So you might want to try to avoid that. Another pro tip that when it comes to drawing is, please, like I said in the beginning, use a reference for everything. Well, not, yeah, for pretty much everything that you're going to be drawing, for a very good reason. And this is because when you start to draw, you don't really want to just start drawing something that you have no clue you want to draw. And that's what many people I've talked to over the years have been saying, that they have nothing to draw because they don't really know what to draw, because they constantly have art blocks. And the one thing that I always tell them is that you can just look up stuff and draw it and use it as a reference or guide. And they say, yeah, but I don't really want to. And then at the end, it's just kind of sad because they don't really seem to understand that you can like draw more varieties of things, but they just kind of refuse to. So yeah, another thing that also helps is when it comes to like body shapes, you'll often hear people say, so when you come to like drawing, you will have to understand shapes of bodies. And let me just let you know that yes, that is a great tip, but it's not something that you would often want yourself to be like using. I have tried this personally myself, and it does not work for me, at least, because and here's a great reason why. Many people say, oh well, you need to understand shapes of like people's bodies. Most of the time you really don't need to understand the shape, because most of the times when I draw, if you ever notice, I kind of like use a box square as for the chest, and for like the hips I kind of use a triangle, while the head is pretty much a circle, and I put a bit of like lines in the head for like guidelines on where I want the head to be tilting or to be looking at. Yes, that does help. But if you ever want to like get good with like body types, yes, using shapes does help, but it's not going to get you that far. You still need to look at references, and you still need to understand yourself of body language itself. You can take a class if you would like. That is not my saying, or what you do to that. So another thing that many people that I've watched over the past few years, especially, is many people would like to ask me, how did you get this good and how far did you get it to be this good? And frankly, it takes a bit of experimentation and a bit of willingness to draw every single day to the point where you feel the most comfortable with. And that's a lot of things that people don't really seem to understand, is that when you draw, you have to get out of your comfort zone, but some people just cannot get out of it. It took me, like, in total, I've been drawing for around 7 to 8 years, and it took me the longest time to figure out what I wanted my style to be. And even now, I still don't really have a particular style. I just kind of go with what I'm dealing with. So yeah. Another thing that is, many people, like, they have said that they've been drawing for quite a while and that they kind of like find the art style, and that's good. And here's something else. When it comes to drawing, it's okay to, like, yes, it is okay to trace certain things, but you should not necessarily be tracing every single thing, because it's not good and you could possibly get in trouble for it. So for one of the reasons is a good prime example of, like, probably to trace something, try to trace like a base drawing, if you know what that is. But for those who don't, a base drawing is pretty much where, so it's pretty much, think of it as a pose that's already there for you, and you can just trace over it and just to figure out the body movements and stuff, which is really grateful, and I really supply for people to do that. I myself have done it in the past, and it really helped me with anatomy and what I actually wanted to do with the body. And it was really great, especially because I would improve like every other 2 months tremendously, because I kept doing it over and over again to the point where I got extremely comfortable. Another thing that when it comes to art is, this is a major one. You'll see a lot of artists joke about this, and it's generally not funny, but, well, if you're not an artist at least. But here's another thing that would, like, really help you tremendously. If you learn how to do backgrounds, if you're able to figure out backgrounds or what you want to do with backgrounds, then you're really good at that. Because like, backgrounds, besides like your really amazing art style, backgrounds will also kind of like put a mood or setting to the drawings. And I've been watching a lot of people draw really good drawings, and the background itself is really simple, but I still enjoy the drawing. It's just that some people don't really know how to, and it's fine. Another pro tip that I do have is, when you do shading, I've seen a lot of people like use black as for shading. Please do not do that. And here's a good reason why. You don't want to always stick with black. You actually need to go out of your way to choose different colors and varieties of what you're going to use and how you're going to use them. So when I was doing this drawing, I decided to use a tone that was purple and red as for shading, and it came out really well. Because if you only use black, it will come out really weird or wonky from time to time again, because you're just sticking with that particular color and you're not trying to change it up like one bit. And you don't want to do that. You only want to do that if like you're doing animation, or if you're trying to do a simple art challenge for yourself, or or just in general. So I would highly recommend that people do not just use black as for shading, and don't use pure white as for lighting as well. And for those who are like starting new, there's this mode where you create a new layer and it'll say normal, if you click that, then you pretty much be able to like change the opacity. Well, no, not the opacity, but more or less the tone of it. So multiply will make whatever the color was darker, but that's only if you put it on top of it. Otherwise, it won't work. So yeah, those are like all I really have upon drawing. Is that you generally should try like to get out of your comfort zone and try to like do things your way, and don't really, yes, you should also take criticism. Criticism will help you tremendously, and I have been really now like really trying to avoid that, but in the end you do need criticism, otherwise you're not going to achieve anything and you are just going to wind up in a situation where you believe that you're not good enough because you don't know what to do, but in reality you need to learn how to take in criticism, which will help you a lot. And like, I mean, it'll help you a lot because the more you take in like advice, and the more you're willing to hear people out with certain stuff, the more you're able to figure out the problem and resolve it very much quicker, and you'll get a really good result of it too. So yeah, those are like pretty much all I have with art. And oh yeah, and there's another thing as well. If you're gonna do art, I really advise for you. You really need to learn like how, like most people need to learn how to draw animals and humans, because if you don't learn that, then you're going to make it extremely difficult for yourself like when you get older, because you only know how to draw a particular type of pretty much a certain whatever you're drawing, and you're not going to achieve certain things. Like throughout my entire middle school, all I drew was animals, but throughout my almost like my entire elementary school, all I drew was like people. And but then when when COVID started, I decided to switch in between. I would ask people to send me their characters so that I can draw them, and then I would draw them, and it helped me improve a lot because I was switching between from animal to person. Because if you do this, like, some people might find it stressful, but if you do it at like time where you're not stressing yourself out too much, it'll help you like a lot with like animal anatomy and human anatomy, kind of, depending on what you're drawing in particular. Another thing is, especially when it comes to drawing, please, for like, I'm not even joking, this is not even like generally funny. If you are start drawing, it is okay to, there is no such thing as copying another art style. There is a such thing as tracing, but if you copy the art style even the slightest, there is nothing wrong with that. And many people believe that it's wrong. You can't copy other people's art styles, which you generally, yes, I do believe that you probably shouldn't, like, don't make it to the point where it looks like you traced it, but also keep it to the point where it's still in your style. So if you're ever drawing something, yeah, please do look at like, analyze the drawing, and then try to replicate it a little bit to see if the style is yourself, but also make sure that you're not like tracing it, and make sure it still looks like you drew it. But that's pretty much all I have with the few art tips. And I'm pretty much, I don't know if anybody cares, but I'm gonna answer a few questions even though I've already put them in the description. Many people have always been asking, like, how do I draw this fast? And reality is, I don't take a break. Like, I don't. So most of the times people like to ask me to create drawings, and I'm just like, sure. And I ask them multiple questions, and if they want something particular in it, then they just have to ask. But most people don't really ask me, they just kind of say do whatever you want, which is not really a good sign, especially if you like commission somebody to do something. Then that is really not a good sign. You really need to specify as to what you want and how you want it, otherwise you're gonna come out, otherwise the drawing's gonna come out in the way that you don't want it to be, and you are not going to be happy because you didn't really specify it. So yeah, another thing that, like, many people, like, yeah, I said before, people been like asking me how I drew so fast and just how the heck I get it to be like really glossy looking. I'll tell you a little tip. The only reason why I'm able to get it this fast is because I'm using like Windows Movie Maker, and it's free. I don't think it's on like mobile. I don't really believe that it's on mobile, but it is on PC, and it's free. It's really easy to navigate around. But the only downfall to it is it's really old. Like, it's old. Like, it's been here for a while. And like, I've had it before, but I've never fully used it because I didn't know how to make speed paints back then. On PC, at least. But I was really hyped up when I was able to just make it really easily. So yeah, and many people still keep asking me, where do I get my designs from? How do I get my designs to look like this? And I don't really have an answer to it. Most of the times, I just doodle, and then it becomes a drawing, and then it becomes art. So yeah, I don't really have an answer to that. And if anyone's curious on how I get like the glossy look, to make it look glossy, there's like, I don't believe that there's a setting on Clip Studio that allows you to just kind of like duplicate like whatever, like the entire drawing itself, like not where it like combines all of the layers, but it kind of like duplicates out all the layers into one, while all the other separate files, or I mean layers, are left alone. But only Ibis Paint has that. So if I wanted to do that, all I had to do was just duplicate it, merge it all down into one, go to the blur tool and blur it, and then when I was done blurring it, I kind of just brought the opacity down some. And for those who are wondering what the opacity is what makes the drawing or line art, whatever it is, color, I'm gonna just say color, from pure brightness to kind of dim where you can hardly see it. And that's what it pretty much is. It's fun to play around with. And for those who don't really know like what I'm using, even though I put it in the description, I'm using Clip Studio Pro. I do not have the X version, I only have the Pro version. And this is because I did not feel like paying no $200 to use a drawing software that I can perfectly use fine. I think my next speed paint might actually be used with Medibang for PC, because recently I've just been currently using Medibang on my tablet, but considering my tablet's broke, I can no longer do that until I get it fixed, at least. But yeah, I've been trying to like make speed paint with Medibang and everything, and try to do it with kind of like sideways, which does not work very well for me. So if I wanted to do it, I have to sit through a long process, an hourly agony trying to do a simple drawing for somebody because I don't really want to put way too much energy out of me. Yeah. I think like a major like improvement when it comes to like your drawings, like for anybody, is just to test everything out and don't stop. Like, I'm genuinely serious. I have talked to many people through over the few years that I've been online, how much they've stopped drawing because they don't feel like it's for them, or they feel like quitters, and they think that they cannot achieve anything. But in reality, you can achieve stuff that you want, but you just have to do it. It's not a matter of quality, of how much you can draw. It takes time. It takes more time than you would think. That's why that's why many people don't understand why they see really great artists with really good drawings, with really good followers, and wonder why they don't have as much as them. And it's because that most people kind of give up at a certain point. But in reality, you cannot just give up like that. You have to keep going. Not unless you know that you are not able to, due to issues or that problems, then don't do it. Don't force yourself to. You're just gonna stress yourself out. So, yeah, just don't. If you know you're capable of doing it, then keep trying. I'm also gonna answer this for animation as well, even though this is not really an art tip, more or less of an animation tip. If you see, like, animations, like, please, criticism, that's all I have to say about that. Like, if you you can criticize pretty much anything you want. Just make sure that whoever you criticize does not get offended by it. Because, trust me, people do get offended by everything. And I mean everything. Which is odd to me because most of the time when people do stuff, they like overreact. So, yeah. Also, another tip when it comes to animation, like, as much as I love to say use reference, you can't really use particular references when it comes to animation. So what I have is for you is to pretty much look at a moving object, and there even is a tool that I have recently found out. When you go to YouTube, there are the two buttons, like near your question mark and M. They allow you to see the frames before on the animation or the video that you are currently watching. So you can see back and forth between those, which is a really good tool that I've been kind of using. Another thing that I've also been noticing when it comes to animations, many people get really frustrated when they can't draw properly or animate properly. And it's like, you need to understand that everything takes time. You can't just rush everything as much as you want. Which is very odd to me because I've only been truly animating for about 3.5 years now. Yeah, I've been animating for about 3.5 years now, but I didn't post anything until like 2018, 2019. This is because this was like before like Flipaclip had any form of audio in it. So yeah. But that's all I really have to say about this entire video. I don't really know if it's helpful to anybody, but I kind of just thought it was fun to do, especially one of my old characters that I haven't drawn since 2019. But it was really fun to kind of draw him again and redesign him a little bit. And I just hope that this helps you in any form of way. Oh yeah, and here's the final tip for drawing. If you draw something and you ever want to post it, please put a watermark on it. If you put a watermark on the drawing, no one can specifically watermark that out unless they have really good watermarking skills, which most of them don't. So, yeah. I really do hope that this was, like, hopeful for you. And I'm probably gonna be posting this somewhere in the morning, maybe later in the noon. Because it's, like, going on 12 o'clock for me at night. But I really do hope that you enjoyed this completely. And I hope that you all are having a good, swell day or night. And I hope that I'll see y'all next time. So, yeah.